First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. We're live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. We're here every weekday. We start at 1 p.m. and go throughout the afternoon. And I always like to remind everybody of that so we get to do, not only if there's breaking news that time, but we also get to have longer form conversations and segments and about things that are pretty impressive and important. And both of those fall into the Crag Rats, the Mount Hood Rescue organization and group that has been around for 100 years. This year, 2026 being the 100th year, and an amazing history of just being so important at saving lives, helping people. And we want to talk about the history of that and also just the state of the mountain right now and rescues and what goes into all of that. To do so, I'm going to bring him on right now. We're joined by rescue mountaineer Christopher Van Tilburg, MD. Thank you, Christopher, so much for being here with us. You know, I not only your time, but just for what you do as well and the organization. And, you know, to start off, I think for some people, they may see the term, if they don't know the term crag rat, they may be confused about what it is we're talking about. Would you mind telling us, you know, what a crag rat is, and also just a bit of the history of this 100 years of this organization?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm just honored to be here and appreciate your interest as well. The Hood River Crag Rats started in 1926, and we were started as a mountain rescue group that sort of came about from a bunch of skiers and mountaineers who just started volunteering to do rescues. And we started doing rescue missions in 1926 and really never stopped. We just, for 100 years, we've been doing rescues for Hood River County, and we go elsewhere too. We do mutual aid to surrounding counties.
And all of those different areas, I mean, when we're talking about, you know, 100 rescues 100 years ago, I mean, obviously technology changes, maybe tactics change, but the terrain, has that really changed that much as far as where these rescues occur?
Well, yes and no. I mean, in general, you know, Mount Hood is an old volcano that's still active, and the major features have not changed. Some of the glaciers have changed. You know, we used to have 12 glaciers. We now have 10 because of, you know, receding glaciers and just changes in the environment. So we do have some of the routes have changed, but by and large, you know, Mount Hood's been there for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, and the, you know, when you look at this time frame too, and just talking about the history, going to that just a little bit more too, the 100 years of that, you know, what's it like being in a part of that organization, and what kind of person is it, you know, that is driven to do this, to put themselves at risk at times, you know, to go help others like this?
I think, you know, great question. We have, there's two things that we have in common, everybody who's in our group, and one of them is we're alpinists, so we're at home skiing and climbing in the high alpine on Mount Hood. And the other thing that's sort of deeply rooted in our culture and all of our individual personalities is we just have this interest in helping people. And this is the way most of us have chosen to help people, by going out and rescuing people who are lost or stranded or injured in the mountains.
And using that skill set that you have and that drive, which to that extent for you, you know, what drives you to be an alpinist? What is it about it that at its core really draws you to that mountain?
I think most of it is, you know, being outside in the clean air with little distractions, exercising, doing something both physically and mentally challenging with all my best friends. Like, that's where I was this morning. I was up in the mountains skiing with one of my best friends.
Yeah, and getting to enjoy that, you know, amazing opportunity that's right there, right next to us here. Well, when we talk about rescues, you know, on that side of things, what are some of the most common ways that people get themselves into trouble when they're up on Mount Hood?
Well, you know, Mount Hood is a very popular mountain. It's probably the most climbed glaciated peak in the world, although we don't have definitive stats. But there's thousands of people that climb Mount Hood. And a busy weekend, there's, you know, 5, 6, 7, 800 people that are on the mountain per day above the top of Palmer chairlift, so above 9,000 feet or so, a lot of people. And so we see some repetitive patterns, and it's interesting because these patterns, we have cases of the exact same things that happened back in the 1970s and back in the 1950s. And so one of the most common things is people are a little bit out of their skill set, or they're out of their don't have the right equipment. So they get into trouble because they maybe have the wrong boots. They don't know how to use crampons and an ice axe. They're not familiar with climbing a technical glaciated peak. And so, combination of equipment and skill set is the probably the number one thing that causes people to get into trouble. And then the second thing would be when weather moves in. Mount Hood's this massive solitary volcano that sticks above the forest 7,000 feet. And when the weather is clear, you can see for miles. Like you can see Three Sisters, Mount Jefferson, Mount Rainier. But when the weather moves in, it can change pretty suddenly.
So overconfidence has been an issue for all of the decades. That can be a concern. And you mentioned that weather. And over these last, looking at the history of that, you have those things that are common things. Over the last year or so, what are some of the biggest issues that you've seen? And have you seen, since so many people are up there, more rescues being needed?
Yeah, one of the biggest things we see is just because there's more people on the mountain, we have more rescues. And like, I think I speak for many of us who are rescue mountaineers. We love it when people enjoy the mountains and get out to the wild lands and exercise and appreciate nature. That's really rewarding for everybody. But because there's so many people, the number of rescues have gone up, and rescues for people who are injured very badly, or simply maybe not injured, but just lost.
Just lost up there and getting turned around. Would that be a weather related, something like that? It comes in and turns you around?
Yeah, so it's part of it is sudden weather. The other thing is Mount Hood is a volcano, so it's a cone. So if you are high on the mountain, like at 10,000 feet, and you walk downhill and you're going the wrong direction, even if you're only off by a few degrees, as you go down, 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 you're getting farther and farther away from where your car's parked. So we see that happen on Mount Hood, that people go down the wrong drainage, and if they keep walking down, they just get farther and farther away from their car.
I can definitely, when you put it that way, how I can see how easy that is for that to occur. When you all get a call for a rescue, what are the first things that you do when you go through?
Well, I think, we work, 100% of our work is through the Hood River County Sheriff Office, and we have a fabulous relationship with our sheriff, and we're so lucky. So when we get the call, most of us have a bag packed, or a backpack almost ready to go. So the first thing that happens is we report in via modern technology. We use the text message system, and we report in if we can go. And then we all muster at a central location, and then we have to take some time to figure out what's going on and what's the best approach to rescue a person. So rarely does things happen instantly. Sometimes they do, but usually we have to take our time and figure out what's the problem, what gear do we need, what personnel do we need, and we have to make a plan.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're putting yourself in danger as well, you and your team, to do this. And that takes a certain kind of, I don't know, an attitude, an ability, I'm not saying crazy, but I mean, it's important. It really is, just what you do is just amazing stuff. And, when you're getting up there, when you're heading up to that mountain for that rescue, whatever it may be, what's going through your mind in those situations?
Well, I think, all of us are, type A task oriented people. So what's going through our mind is let's get this job done. But we also have a little sidebar going through all of our minds of we have to reevaluate things constantly and make sure we're safe and make sure we're not getting into trouble. And so you mentioned a really important thing for us is we got to make sure we don't get hurt and put ourselves in unnecessary danger. So when we do mountain safety education, we let people know that, rescue isn't going to be instant, and we may have to delay or slow down a rescue to make sure that all the rescuers are safe.
What is, talking about that, for the education side of things, what is the best thing that somebody can do to make sure that they're adequately prepared if they decide to want to climb Mount Hood like all these people are now?
Well, the best thing is to go with a guide and go with a professional mountain guide to help you get safely to the top and back down, because getting back down is part of the challenge. There are some simple things you can do wherever you're recreating, whether it's going to the summit of Mount Hood, or you're just skiing on the flanks, or you're backcountry skiing, or maybe going for a hike or a snowshoe. We like to tell people, bring a cell phone with an extra battery and have a mapping program that's GPS enabled on your cell phone so you can see where you are. Make sure you have enough equipment to spend the night out. So that might just be an extra pair of pants and an extra jacket. It might be something more than that, but at least if you have to spend the night out, you can do so for one night. And then, bring survival essentials like a headlamp and things like that.
You make sure that you're packed and ready to go just in case that situation arises.
Yeah.
For this, just talking about this last year, well, I guess we did kind of cover that, that the more rescues, but I guess, what do you think is the most important thing people should know about the Crag Rats and about what you do?
Well, I think, we love doing this volunteer job, and none of us are paid, but we love doing it. We do give up something. We have to give up family time, work time, our own personal recreation. Sometimes we give up sleep. A third of our missions are at night. So we have to give up sleep. But I think, the most important thing is we rely on other people. We rely on other people to support our cause by donations. We rely on people to come and teach us things when we have outside instructors. We rely on the community when we need food at the end of a mission, for example. So we rely on a lot of people, and I think probably the most important thing people should know is just we're not getting paid to do this.
Yeah, this is all volunteer, just your time and your energy and your skill set.
Yeah.
Final question, can you explain to anybody out there who doesn't know what a crag is?
Yeah, so our name came from 1926 when it was a all-male group of mountaineers, and one of the wives said, "You guys are just a bunch of rats climbing crags every weekend." And that's how we got our name. And a crag is like a pinnacle of rock that rock climbers scale.
And is it still true to this day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it rings true. Christopher, thank you very much, for joining us. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with everybody as well? Because I know that there's also a book out there about this.
Yeah, so I did write a book called Crisis on Mount Hood. It came out last year, and it is the story of, it's kind of two stories in one. It's the story of 100 years of mountain rescue and how important culture is for our group to maintain 100 years of volunteering in high-risk situations. And then there's a secondary story about the current state of Mount Hood and all of the rescues we've been doing in the last, 3 to 4 years. So the book's called Crisis on Mount Hood, and thanks for mentioning it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you find, for being a crag rat, do you talk to some of the people who are the older members who have been, maybe they're doing the rescues in the 50s, 60s, whatever it may be?
Yeah, we have a saying where once you're a crag rat, you're always a crag rat. So we have members in their 80s and 90s. Our oldest member, I think, is 94 years old. And listening to those stories that they tell from the 50s, 60s, and 70s is incredibly enriching.
That's awesome. Well, Christopher, thank you so much for having time to talk to us. I really appreciate your time and joining me here. This is a great conversation. And thanks. Thanks for being here on Fox 12 Now, and thanks for all that you do.
Okay, thanks for your interest also.
Absolutely. And for everybody watching, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back here in a minute. We've got a lot more for you. But we thank you for watching. We're live streaming here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. And I will talk to you in just a few with more. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.